Hey guys, how are you? Hope you're all doing very well. This afternoon I'm going to be doing another movie review. This movie is a comedy from Denmark, Danish language English subs, released in the year 2017, directed by Ole Bornedal, and this film is called Small Town Killers. So Small Town Killers is about two men. They're unhappy in their marriages. They're not really getting any love from their wives. The wives deem them as losers, so it's a very cold sort of reception that they get. So they're very sexually frustrated. They have a lot of sexual fantasies that they can't act out on, and so this is causing a lot of depression. So their dream is to go to Phuket as free men and basically act out on their sexual urges, but before they can do that, they have to take care of their wives. So the initial plan is divorce, but that backfires, and so they come to the drastic conclusion and desperate conclusion of hiring a hitman. So when they hire the hitman, they realise that they're way in over their heads, and so they have a change of heart, but it's already too late because this hitman is on a collision course with these wives already. But then this is where the husbands realise that their wives might have a plan of their own to deal with the husbands. So it's going to be a battle of the sexes, and it's going to escalate into a comedy of errors, and what those errors are is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now, my thoughts on Small Town Killers. This is a very disposable, fun kind of film, but based on the fact that Ole Bornedal was the director, I came away from this experience bitterly disappointed. Now, Ole Bornedal is a fantastic director. He's directed many films in the past that have his own style. He's a very quirky filmmaker in that the characters are very quirky, but there's a very serious, sinister tone that his movies have. So you've got Night Watch, which is his most recognised film that has been remade by the United States. I thought that was very suspenseful, but once again, a very quirky way of storytelling. Then you've got a Straw Dogs kind of Danish version called Deliver Us From Evil that I thought was very brutal, but once again that very stylistic sort of approach that Ole Bornedal has. And then I believe his best film is Just Another Love Story, that I thought was very twisted romance, but once again has the quirkiness. So this is a director to really look out for, and I think he's made films in the United States. I could be wrong, but I'm not really concerned with those films. But this is a guy that has a lot of recognition, a lot of ability behind him. So coming into Small Town Killers, this was a comedy. This was a different style of Ole Bornedal film. And I thought that there were elements in this movie that really reminded me of his style. The cinematography is very, very good. It has a very grey tinge to it, so the colouring is a little bit taken out, and it gives that darkly humorous tone that the movie has. I thought that the first quarter of this film was really well done. Ulrich Thomsen, who is a fantastic actor, he plays his character very well, and the chemistry he has with Nicholas Bro, who is an equally fantastic actor, I thought their characters had great chemistry, and when they come together, I felt as though there was a strong connection, and that they felt as though they were losers, that the society has deemed them as hopeless cases. And so I thought, alright, okay, this movie is going to allow me to really absorb myself into their situation, into their dilemma, and it's going to tell me a little bit about these guys and who these guys are, and maybe how they can redeem themselves. And this is going to be a movie about, you know, broken marriages and how strong what you have to do in order to get them back, and what you will do in order to get away from marriage. And so that's sort of the comedy that the movie brings, is that these guys are willing to hire a hitman to get away from their wives. And so that old saying that the wife is the boss, the wife is the one that keeps you in the chain, and how extreme you will go in order to break that chain. So that was the comedy that the movie really has, and that's the comedy that really should have made the film a lot more memorable than it was. Because unfortunately, as soon as the hitman is introduced into this film, this is where it falls downhill rapidly. Now, I believe that this Ole Bornedal wanted to emulate what makes Anders Thomas Jensen so brilliant. Now, Anders Thomas Jensen has made numerous films such as Green Butchers, Adam's Apples, Flickering Lights. You've also got films such as Men and Chicken, which were all brilliant. And they were movies that were very quirky. They were movies that were taking place almost in a surreal world, but had characters with a lot of heart to them. So although they were doing absolutely outrageous things, you could gain a connection with these characters. So although the overall situation was ridiculous and extreme, I still felt that it was grounded in reality, because there were bits and pieces to these outrageous characters that made them human. And so although you're watching something that is incredibly entertaining, you have that layer of seriousness to it that grounds it in realism, and it makes you think about life and your own life and how you interact with other people. And so Anders Thomas Jensen is a brilliant filmmaker, and I think he really gets that fine blend of outrageous and realistic quality that help contain it. But this movie, I felt as though there was no realism to really contain the outrageous moments, so it just felt like an outrageous film for the sake of being outrageous. And I thought this was a very lazy lazy film as well. I thought there were a lot of convenient sort of plot points that really come together that felt as though it had no patience, and that goes against everything that makes Ole Bornedal the director he is. In those films that I just mentioned, he has a lot of patience in them. He creates something that is very slow burning and it really gets under your skin. But this movie, he's going into comedy and he's making it much more of an obvious comedy as opposed to deadpan humour. And the first quarter of this movie has that deadpan humour. It has just the interactions between these characters that was very funny. But when it goes into its slapstick sort of comedy, it goes into a different tone. And this is where the tone really weighs the film down, because I just didn't care about anything that was happening. And because the situation was so extreme, and because there was no relatable qualities in these characters, because they were acting so far out of the realms of possibility, I disconnected myself. I distanced myself from this situation, so it became very boring. There was nothing I could really relate to. And so the whole situation was just very lazy. I just thought the ending was a cop-out, and I just felt, you know, Ulrich Thomsen and Nicholas Bro deserved a much better film than what Ole Bornedal delivers. For a director of his standard, I thought this was very lackluster. I thought it was extremely lazy. There were points I felt he just didn't want to really pan it out. He just didn't want to make it, you know, realistic to the point where you could connect yourself and really absorb yourself into what was happening. And so in the end, what you get is a very, very disappointing movie from Denmark. I expected so much more from Ole Bornedal, and I just felt as though this is a movie he just didn't really have a lot of heart in, and he just wanted to make it based on the fact that he is he's a well-known figure as far as Scandinavian cinema is concerned. So bitterly disappointing. I'm not going to recommend Small Town Killers, and I'm only going to give this one 2 stars. Alright guys, that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later. Bye.